15 motorcycle tips for beginners. Let's talk about that. Let's get cracking. Tip number one, whenever you take parts off your bike, you're installing a new muffler, hand grips, heated hand grips, whatever, there's always spare bits and pieces left over. Get a sandwich Ziploc bag, write on the bag exactly what bike it is and what the parts pertain to. You're not going to remember a year from now, and toss it in your toolbox. It'll help you out in the long run if you ever need to go back to getting those bits and pieces. It also helps the next owner when you go to sell the bike if you include all the bits and pieces to go with it. Number two, carry a tire repair kit. This one is made by Aerostitch. You can buy them on Amazon for peanuts. And there's plug type. This is the rope type of spare tire patch kit with CO2 bottles to help fill up your bike. If you have tube tires, you're in for a bad ride, like I do on my Revival, because you have to pull the inner tube out and patch it and put it back on. And me personally, I'm not doing that on the side of the road. But for those of us that run tubeless tires, these are a godsend. They'll help you out, and I promise you they'll help one of your buddies out when you're out riding. If you have room, try to carry one. Tip number three, when you stop at a stoplight or intersection, keep your eyes glued on the rearview mirrors. What you're looking for is somebody who's texting on their phone, and are you going to get rear-ended? And when you stop at a stoplight or at an intersection, make sure you have an escape route for that very reason. So if somebody is not paying attention and you're about to get rear-ended, you can quickly dart between two other cars and let the car in front of you take the beating. I promise you that will save you your bacon on many times during your riding career. Winter is fast approaching, acorns are dropping, leaves are starting to drop, and if you store your bike over wintertime, especially for our neighbors up north in Canada that go for 4 to 6 months with their bike in storage, take the battery out and put it inside your home where it stays in the normal temperature zone to help prolong the life of your battery. It always helps if you put a battery tender on it. I recommend Battery Tender Junior. They sell for like $25 to $30. I have a link to one down below if you have any interest. If you keep your bike out in the garage where it's bitter cold, keep a battery tender on it. Your best bet is to take the battery out and just put it inside and put it on a battery tender. Tip number 5. Don't be that guy or gal that goes out in your garage and starts your bike up and lets it run for 5 minutes thinking, I'm going to keep its juices flowing over the winter time. You're actually doing more harm than good. And what I mean by that is you build up a temperature difference between, say, the gasoline in the tank versus when it starts to warm up, it's going to build some condensation. That creates rust in your gas tank. Same rule applies to the cylinders on the bike. You will get rust in your cylinders as well as your muffler. You are shortening the lifespan of your bike, and it's going to give you much grief come springtime. If you're going to start it, you got to let it run for 20 minutes or so, go out and ride it around the block, get it up to operating temperature so all that condensation steams and builds up and dissipates. When it's cold outside, back in the day, old bikers used to stuff newspaper into their sleeves, wrap it around their arms, their waistband, etc. I don't remember the last time I even saw a newspaper, so that tip doesn't really help in today's world. What does is get a hefty bag, trash bag, cut the neck out in 2 arms, put it over your torso, and put that under your jacket. It is absolutely windproof, and it provides another layer of insulation. It will help keep you warm. Now, as far as your gloves go, a pair of surgical gloves are cheap as beans. Keep a pair of those, so even if you get caught in inclement weather and your gloves aren't waterproof, putting that rubber glove on is skin tight, so it won't affect the fitness of your glove, but it'll keep your hands dry. It won't help with the temperatures, but it's at least a step in the right direction. If you ride with a tinted visor, it's not uncommon to get caught out and you get home rather late and it starts to get dark and you don't have your clear visor to swap them out. Yes, they make transitional lenses. I've never been a fan of them because when I get into an area that's well shaded, it actually prohibits my vision. Or if you go through a tunnel, it doesn't transition fast enough from tinted to clear to keep you out of harm's way. What I recommend is you carry your clear shield with you on all times. Where do you store that? That's easy. Just store it right around your waist inside your jacket. It's not uncomfortable, and you always have your clear visor with you. Now, if you're worried about scratching up your expensive face shield, they make wind socks for them, or they make socks to store them in. If you don't want to spend the money on that, just use an old gym sock. Works like a champ. Tip number 8, if you're riding alone, share your route and the times you're supposed to leave and the times you're supposed to be home with somebody. It can be your friend, it can be your spouse, your mom and dad, whomever. And if it instruct them, if it goes past this time, get alarmed. Let's say you're supposed to be home by dinner time, 6 o'clock. And if it gets to 6 and I'm not home by 7, start to get alarmed. If I'm not home by 8, then there's a problem. And they know the route you're on and they can start to look for you. There's plenty of apps for your phone that help track you that you could share with people. The one I personally use is Glympse. It's free, Glympse, and I send a link to the few people so they know exactly where I'm at, and they can look on their phone and know where to find me if there's a problem. Could be a life-saving if you launch over a rail on a country road and fall down in a ravine and are unable to get some help. Tip number 9, clean your brake calipers. And what I mean by that is once or twice a year, they get crudted up with brake dust and moisture and debris and bugs and things of that nature. Brakes are kind of important. And what I mean by clean them is there's a bolt you can loosen on every disc brake and the whole caliper swings down for servicing. Swing it down, take a look inside of it, get some brake clean, spray it out, and then wipe it out with a rag. Don't use an oil-based product because it'll destroy the brake pads and you won't be able to stop. Brake clean evaporates like that. So I recommend you do that once or twice a year. These are basic maintenance. On a rainy day when you got nothing to do and you'd rather be riding, that's exactly when you should do it. Tip number 10, let's say you tip your bike over in the garage and you bust the brake lever, the mirror, something along those lines, and you need to go down to your local shop and order it. Before you do so, your best bet is there's 2 places to check. Check on eBay. There's a lot of people parting out bikes that they've totaled, and also Facebook Marketplace. And just do your Google search, get the part numbers and the exact name of the part, and then take a look on Facebook Marketplace, and you may find your part for cheap as beans. The same goes for eBay. Yes, Fleabay is a little sketchy, but normally you can pick up OEM parts. Pretty handy price. If you do your own maintenance, buy a ton of crush washers. Just buy a dozen of them. Put them on a clothespin and hang them on your pegboard in your garage or throw them in your toolbox. Yes, you can reuse them. No, it is not recommended. If any biker that tells you they've never used a crush washer, turned it upside down the other direction and went on with it, they're lying to you. But it will cause an oil leak, and it's kind of mission critical. So my advice to you is rather than buy that one, just go buy a dozen of them. Tip number 12, if you do your own oil changes, buy them in bulk. Buy the oil filters in bulk. You can find deals on Amazon as well as eBay, etc. Just take a look, buy half a dozen of them and just stock them on the shelf. For those of you that ride oddball bikes like Moto Guzzi, CF Moto, things like that, they're normally not in stock, and you may find yourself waiting a month to get an oil filter to change and service your bike. If you have a half a dozen of them sitting on the shelf, the price certainly isn't going to go up between now and when you're going to use that 6th one. You'll save some money in the long run. Tip number 13, for those of you that drive chain-driven bikes, when is the best time to clean your chain? Right after you ride. Yes, you're hot, you're sweaty, you're tired, and you just want to go take a shower and chill out. However, the chain is heated up to operating temperatures, so the wax grease or solidified congealed grease is going to be a lot more liquid form. Now is the time to get your rag and wipe the chain down and re-oil the chain. It behooves you to do that when the bike has just been ridden for a long period of time. Not when it's stone cold in the garage and you're like, I need to service my chain on my bike. Tip number 14, when should you gas up your bike? Don't be that guy or gal that when you have a group ride, you show up with a half a tank of gas and say, time out, I need to go get gas. You're going to piss everybody off. Don't do that. Best time to top off your bike with gas is when you are coming home from a long ride. I don't care how much is in your bike, swing by a gas station right before you get home and top it off. Then the next time you throw your leg over your bike, you are locked and loaded and ready to go with a full tank of gas. You'd be surprised how enjoyable it is to hop on a bike with a full tank of gas versus I'm going to go riding today and I throw a leg over it. Darn, I got to go get gas and take the gloves off and mess with it. I just want to get on the road and enjoy my bike ride. And my final tip to all new bike riders is if you live in an area where you have winter and it's seasonal, apparently that's not an option up in Canada because I've discussed this before, but set up your insurance during the winter months to take the insurance off and then it picks back up on the springtime. Why pay insurance for the next 4, 5, 6 months if you're not going to be riding? You're flushing money down the toilet. A lot of insurance companies offer these type of policies that work around your lifestyle and will save you some money in the long run. I hope these tips help you out. I hope you learned something today. Thank you for watching Kraken's Garage. And remember, folks, go riding because it's good for you. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.